Hello and welcome back to the Car and Bike Show, where we bring you the hottest news of the week along with some exclusive stories that you will only find on this show. So come with us as we take you on this ride. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to Car and Bike and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on an update from the channel. Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer Build Your Dreams, or BYD as it is more commonly known, has been making inroads globally, and it is also looking to expand its presence in India. However, we understand that the company's plans have been stopped in their tracks. Now, why has this happened, and what does this spell for the industry in general? Here is what we know.
BYD is amongst the topmost EV brands in the world today and has been upping the ante in global markets over the last few years. Enjoying the first mover advantage, much like many other Chinese car makers, BYD developed the famous Blade battery for EVs, and its speed of growth has attracted attention from legacy car makers keen on using its technologies. In fact, BYD has been present in India for over a decade, building electric buses first and also selling passenger vehicles including the E6 MPV and the Atto 3 SUV over the last few years. However, it finds itself in a tricky spot with its proposal to invest $1 billion in India to locally manufacture EVs and batteries. Geopolitical tensions have thrown a spanner in the works for several Chinese players hopeful of setting up operations in India. Great Wall Motors tried to enter with a similarly substantial investment but had to change plans following clashes on the Indo-China border and a prolonged delay in receiving approvals from local authorities. Entering India entails huge investments which are crucial to the success and survival of any car maker. These are justified given the sheer scale and untapped market potential in the country. The Chinese market is quite saturated with a slew of players offering EVs, which is not the case in India yet, and the geographical proximity paired with the possibility of high returns makes ours an incredibly lucrative market for Chinese firms. While BYD seems to have hit pause on its mega India investment plans, there is a good chance that it still may find a way to push ahead with its proposal to make in India. In case the deadlock with Chinese firms continues, it would open up the market for someone like Stellantis. Amongst the biggest car makers in the world, Stellantis is a massive group comprising famous brands, including some that have been in India for a while. Sensing an opportunity in the absence of Chinese car makers who they face fierce competition from in their home markets, a company like Stellantis could view India as an ideal destination to manufacture electric vehicles and batteries.
Social media has had a hearty laugh over pictures of the Land Cruiser badged as a Suzuki, but it is now indeed time to welcome another rebadged model from the Toyota Suzuki Alliance. You see, it's time for Toyota to launch the rebadged Ertiga in India as the Rumion. We've got pictures of the India spec model along with some details.
Leaving aside a few styling bits such as the new grille and an updated front bumper, the Rumion carries the exact same design as its sister car, the Ertiga. The interior layout is also carried over from the Ertiga and features a freestanding 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system atop the dashboard with wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. In terms of safety features, the car gets hill hold assist along with dual front and side airbags. Coming to the powertrain, the Rumion is equipped with the same 1.5-litre petrol engine, which makes a peak power output of 101 bhp and close to 137 Nm of torque. In the CNG variant, the engine makes 86.6 bhp and 121.5 Nm. The petrol-powered version of the Rumion will be offered with both a 5-speed manual as well as a 6-speed automatic, while the CNG version is solely available with the manual gearbox. Toyota says the Rumion will return about 20.5 km per litre when powered by petrol and will cover over 26 km per kilogram of CNG. While Toyota will only announce the prices of the Rumion in the coming days, expect it to be priced similarly to the Ertiga, which starts at a little over 8,60,000 rupees and goes up to over 13 lakh rupees ex-showroom.
Once again this year, we're expecting a number of manufacturers to make some exciting announcements on Independence Day, and Ola Electric will be among them. Ola is now planning to roll out yet another, even more affordable electric scooter, the S1X. Here is everything you need to know about it.
Derived from the existing S1 platform, the S1X is set to retain the LED headlight that has become synonymous with Ola's offerings. However, it will look slightly different with the handlebar sleeves deleted and will also come with funky multi-tone paint schemes. From a mechanical standpoint, the S1X is expected to mirror the recently launched S1 Air. It's likely to employ a twin-sided telescopic fork as well as dual rear shock absorbers and a hub motor. Specifications remain under wraps, but there is a possibility that Ola may offer different battery options across multiple variants. The S1X is aimed at wresting market share away from established petrol scooters such as the Honda Activa and the TVS Jupiter. It's worth noting that it was originally the S1 Air that was dubbed the ICE killer, with a starting price of Rs 85,000 revealed in February 2023. However, the S1 Air has now been launched at a higher introductory price of Rs 1,10,000, which will rise to Rs 1,20,000 after August 15.
And that brings us to the end of this week's news section. Now it's time to go to Dubai with King Shuk, who is driving an exotic Italian convertible.
It does feel weird, right? I mean, where is the signature Ferrari symphony, the oral excellence that the Prancing Horse brand is known for? Well, this is a hybrid machine with a pure EV mode, but that is a waste of the impressive engine throbbing right behind me. Since you asked for the sound or not, here you go. Now that I have your attention in this screaming, stonking V6 engine supercar, please do show us some love and subscribe to the Car and Bike YouTube channel. Do not forget to push that bell notification icon so that you don't miss out on any updates from Car and Bike. And secondly, show us some love and share this video with your family and friends. And do belt in because this is going to be absolutely epic. Yes, I am in Dubai on invitation to test drive the Ferrari 296 GTS. Even by the lofty standards that the boffins at Maranello set upon themselves, the 296 GTS is a mad, menacing, and still a beautiful piece of machinery. You know that the 296 GTS along with the GTB is the first road-going Ferrari with a V6 engine, and that too with hybrid machinery. So yes, out of the 819 brake horsepower that the car generates, 164 comes from the electric motor and the rest of it from the beautiful 120-degree V6 engine. And if you're one of those who like to drive a Ferrari and also care about the environment, then this car has an electric only mode of up to 25 kilometers. Yes, that's right. So if you want to be a good neighbor and not wake up your neighbors in the morning, then you just start your car in the electric mode, drive out of the neighborhood thanks to the 7.45 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery. A 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time of less than 3 seconds and a top speed of 330 kilometers per hour. Even with the roof down, it is downright mental, almost in the face of being obnoxious. But then, if you do have a Ferrari, I don't see any point in keeping it simple, silly. Put your foot down on the throttle and irrespective of the driving mode you're in, you will be just violently and ferociously thrown back in your seat. And the distinct howl of the V6 engine, the feeling of the turbo spooling in, and the kick in the gut from the electric motor boost downright at the bottom end to give you that absolutely ferocious pull. It has to be experienced for you to believe it. I mean, this car is something else. The performance is so engaging. It will keep you smiling all day long. So the Ferrari uses something called the Transition Manager Actuator or TMA. What this little device does is optimize the exchange of energy between the internal combustion engine and the electric motor thanks to proprietary software. So the 8-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox is lightning fast and it puts all of the 819 brake horsepower, every last bit of it, onto the rear wheels, which is where the fat 305 section tire comes into play to put all of that behemoth-like power onto the tarmac and then knock your senses into oblivion. In typical Ferrari fashion, the steering is super precise and direct. I mean, it perfectly latches onto your thoughts, and the input is beautifully, precisely relayed onto the front wheels. And the turn-ins are so perfect that it is difficult to believe how nicely, how strongly the car holds onto the line that you have chosen. I mean, it's just incredible. And the brakes themselves have enough bite and progression for you to drop speed in a jiffy, which is of course a given in a car like this. The 296 GTS also gets Ferrari's brake-by-wire technology that allows you to brake late into the corners, keeps the car as stable as possible, and also optimizes the grip available on each tire and at all times. The other important electrical wizardry on the 296 GTS is the 6-way chassis dynamic sensor, which basically collects data from the steering, brakes, wheels and the gearbox to enhance your driving experience. Now, our test car came with the Assetto Fiorano package, which means it had the race-derived Multimatic suspension for better handling and loads of carbon fiber usage. The front and rear bumper get carbon fiber diffusers and enhanced aerodynamics. The cabin gets carbon fiber seats and other lightweight bits, reducing the weight of the car by 8 kg. Now that I've had my fill of driving the Ferrari 296 GTS, let's take a pause here and just marvel at the beauty that we have here. It is a low-slung, compact, very sharp-looking sports car with immaculate attention to detail. I mean, just look at it, looks so gorgeous, the lines are so clean, so flowing, that even while standing absolutely still, it still looks so fast. I mean, it is difficult to imagine that something so achingly beautiful can be so mind-bendingly violent. No matter which angle you look at it from, you get a sense that the car is the perfect blend of form and function. Talking about the retractable hardtop, it can be deployed in just 14 seconds and at speeds of up to 50 km per hour. And yes, it does add about 70 kg of weight over its fixed roof sibling, the 296 GTB. The added weight also includes carbon fiber reinforcements to the underbody. Everything inside the cabin oozes premiumness, sportiness and sheer quality. I mean, there are a lot of buttons and everything is centered towards the driver. Everything is within your grasp, and in the beginning it may feel overwhelming, but the more you drive the car, the better it is, the more you get used to it. And lastly, in fact, if you talk about the ergonomics, yes, this is a sporty car, super low, and you will have to exercise if you want to get in and out of the car. But once you're fully seated in this, I mean, the car just takes over. There is no infotainment screen in the center on the dashboard, but the passenger does get a small one for navigation, playback and other controls. The overall user interface could have been a little better, but all of that is secondary. The primary focus is of course on driving experience. Features like Apple CarPlay and a reversing camera are all optional extras. For a car that costs upwards of 6 crore rupees, the GTS could have had more features, at least a reversing camera. For more customization options, you can go to the Ferrari Atelier, the company's personalization program, where you can choose from various custom bits for the upholstery, alloy wheels, features, seats, and so on. The Ferrari 296 GTS is otherworldly. It is beautiful, sophisticated, and at the same time, a savage, ferocious speed demon that can scare you silly if you flex your right foot wrong. I mean, the kind of driving delight it offers and the kind of electronic and tech wizard it packs in, it is every bit as special as a Ferrari ought to. And yes, I mean, the way the car makes you feel when you drive it is something that is absolutely phenomenal. Yes, if I had the kind of money that it takes to buy this car, I would buy one in an absolute instant. But before you go, I find myself obligated to tell you that the GTS wasn't the only 296 I drove. Alright, so that was the review of the Ferrari 296 GTS that I drove in Dubai. What a fantastic car. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely enjoyed it. Up next is the review of the Yezdi Adventure. Yes, the adventure motorcycle from Yezdi has been updated with the OBD2 norms, and we had it with us for a few days, and this is how the review went. Do check it out. Yezdi. It is no doubt one of the most iconic and loved motorcycle brands of India. With its resurrection, it brought an adventure motorcycle of Himalayan proportions. We really mean it. We spend some time with the Yezdi Adventure and we find out how it is to live with. And today we have the Yezdi Adventure with us. Actually, we've had it for a few days now and the motorcycle seems to be growing on me. You'll see why. But before we begin, please do give us your feedback, do subscribe to the Car&bike YouTube channel and like and share this video with your family and friends. Now, where have you seen the silhouette of the Yezdi ADV before? Of course, on the Royal Enfield Himalayan. If you look at it from a distance, it looks like a spitting image of the Himalayan. Imitation, they say, is the best form of flattery. Round LED headlight, short windscreen, tall stance, tall front mudguard and the wide handlebars. The Yezdi looks every bit the part of an adventure bike. The fuel tank though is designed more in accordance with the older Yezdis, and the size and shape of the engine is something that makes it very clear that it is in fact a Yezdi and not a Himalayan. The metallic frame on the fuel tank is a compulsory optional extra, and while it does look good and add a sense of butch appeal, it also adds significant extra weight and is not exactly helpful in case of a crash. The circular LCD instrument console on the motorcycle is quite nice and sporty. It looks and feels robust, set in a rectangular plastic box. The bigger display has readout for speed, revs, riding mode and fuel, while the smaller display shows time and can be used for turn-by-turn navigation when connected to the phone. Adventure is the only Yezdi that gets Bluetooth connectivity. Now the riding modes, there are 3: road, rain and off-road. And on the off-road mode, the ABS on the rear wheel can be disconnected with full effect to allow for rear wheel lockup. The other useful feature on the bike are the 2 charging ports, one USB and one Type-C outlet each, which is quite thoughtful from the manufacturer. A cool little feature here is the hinge, which can be used to change the viewing angle of the instrument console. So you see here, the adjustability angle is about 15 degrees and you can set it according to your seating or standing position and even according to your height. Quite a nifty feature to have, but under the harsh sun, legibility may be an issue. The 334cc single-cylinder liquid-cooled engine, we have seen it earlier on the Java Perak, but the internal componentry is quite different. Of course, this is tuned differently too. there is a decent spread of torque across the rev range, and the engine is slightly peaky in nature, which means it loves to be revved. The engine is up for building up speed quickly, and the 6-speed gearbox definitely needs to be engaged with. So in the time that we had the Yezdi with us, we have had a few revelations. The motorcycle feels quite fun and engaging to ride, maybe more so than its doppelganger. Well, that's a story for another day. We found that the bottom end doesn't quite have the punch that you're looking for, but the mid-range is definitely solid and the top end has just about enough grunt. There are a few vibrations at around 5000 RPM and then again at the top end, but that's far from being a deal breaker. In our time spent with the motorcycle, we managed to get about 33 to 35 kilometers per liter with a mix of city and highway riding, which gives you a range of about 500 to 510 kilometers on a single tank full. We think it is decent enough. Coming to the cycle parts, the Yezdi Adventure is kitted out with 21-inch wheel up front and a 17-inch unit at the rear. The bigger wheel up front helps going over big obstacles, and the wire spoke setup helps dissipate the shocks while going over obstacles or even jumps for that matter. The front end is suspended on 41mm telescopic fork and has a travel of 200mm, while the rear gets a monoshock with 7-step preload adjustment and has a travel of 180mm. That's at par with ADV standards. On the Yezdi, the front suspension is planned and can take some abuse, but the rear, that is a bit too soft. More on that in a bit. With a curb weight of 198 kg, it isn't exactly light, particularly when you're going off-road. On tarmac, the weight is not an issue. The way the suspension is tuned, the rear monoshock is a tad too soft and it has a bounce which is a deterrent. It is too valley for our liking. At the same time, the seat height is 815mm and it may be a bother for shorter riders, but the overall ergonomics of the bike are comfy and it works well as a touring motorcycle. On tarmac, shorter set of corners and the Yezdi doesn't flinch. In fact, it has decent cornering ability and the ride is comfy too for most part, but the rear does bounce around a bit too much for our liking and takes time to settle. The Yezdi feels quite solid and can take a beating on tough terrain, much thanks to the 21-inch and the 17-inch wire spoke wheels combo along with the suspension, which takes everything in its stride. We let the bike run over loose sand and rocky inclines. The bike didn't even break a sweat. The nature of the engine on the Yezdi ADV is quite peaky, which is why you need to be very careful when you choose the gear in which you have to traverse over the terrain. Keep the revs high on surfaces with loose tractions and you'll sail through. For rocky terrain, put the motorcycle in the first gear, stand up and let it go. The motorcycle is quite capable that way and won't flinch from obstacles in your way. The overall quality on the motorcycle could have been improved with the coming of the OBD2 norms. It still feels a little rough around the edges. With an ex-showroom price of about 2,20,000 rupees, the Yezdi Adventure sits squarely in the RE Himalayan territory. But where it loses out is the massively wide sales and service network that its chief rival has to offer and better resale value too. Motorcycles in the entry-level ADV segment have a smaller ownership span, with people upgrading to bigger motorcycle in a few years' time. It is far from being flawless. The design could have been original and different. Bottom and grunt could have been better, and like me, if the motorcycle sheds a few kilos, it will become an even well-rounded package. Yes, but the handling is nice, it is engaging to ride, and it has decent kit. Along with the Royal Enfield Himalayan, the Yezdi Adventure is a good option to buy in the budget ADV segment. Alright, that's it from us on this week's episode of the Car and Bike Show. Please do subscribe to the Car and Bike YouTube channel in case you haven't already, and keep sending your feedback so that we will strive to give you better automotive content going forward. Take care, drive safe and ride safe, and please do let us know if you enjoyed this video. Share it with your family and friends. Take care.